everybody. Welcome back to Monday with Molly. I'm Andrew Kosman here with Molly Dean on the Molly Dean team. How's it going, Molly?
Good.
All right. We've kind of talked about this before, but I feel like this time of year as things are picking up a little bit more, it's always good to talk about your basic do's and don'ts.
Oh, yeah.
Which always kind of comes in with myths of what you should or should not do.
Absolutely.
The reality is most of the do's and don'ts while you're buying a house have kind of a gray area, depends on the situation kind of thing. But there are a couple like 10 commandments of do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
All right, so I already know what you're gonna say, but what would you say while you're buying a house is the number one thing you should never do?
Well, I can give you two main ones.
Okay, all right.
Don't quit your job.
That was gonna be my number one.
Okay.
Don't quit your job, you're gonna need it if you wanna buy a house.
Don't buy a car.
Don't buy a car.
Don't buy a car.
Right. Now, that's one that actually can have a bit of a gray area.
It can, yes, depending on your debt ratio. Don't do any of that without talking to us.
That is where I was gonna come back to first. We recently had a client who had their car stolen.
Okay, yes.
They actually listened to us and they were not gonna buy a car.
Yeah.
They were about to go weeks without having a vehicle. They called us. They said, we really, really need a car. We were able to look at their file and say, you know, based on the car that you're buying, based on the car that you had, based on where your credit score is, where your approval is, go
You
out.
have this much room.
Go out and buy a car. We don't need you
Yes.
taking the bus for the next 5 weeks. That
Right.
was okay. But as a general rule of thumb, if they hadn't had that conversation, it very well could have affected them.
Absolutely, because a new debt can impact the debt ratio with which we've written the pre-approval.
Right.
So if you're just out shopping to shop, let's not do that until we're done.
Definitely not. We hate it when we're sitting down with a client, we see a brand new sports car in the driveway that we didn't know about.
Yes.
Sometimes that can cause a problem.
It can, yes.
Okay, let's talk about some of the other gray areas a little bit, all
Okay.
right? So is it okay for me to, so we normally tell folks, don't open any new lines of credit,
Right.
okay? What does that affect? What doesn't it affect?
Debt ratio. It all boils down to debt ratio. So if you're going to open a new credit card, that's a new debt that we have to consider. If you're going to use a credit card that you have, those payments vary a little bit. So I'm less concerned about that unless you max it out.
What about like utilities for my new house?
Please set up your utilities.
Okay, okay.
Please do that.
We'd like utilities to be running. So
Yes.
even though there's sometimes people out there who think or are told like, oh, opening a utility account like affects your credit.
They will pull your credit.
Right.
Some of them. Generally, that's like your cable companies, stuff like that. But it's fine.
Right.
We know it.
That's
We
not
know
going to
what
be
it
something
is.
that affects
That is correct.
your approval with. Okay, now what if Nebraska Furniture Mart's having a great sale, 0% for the next 3 years? Can I
No.
open up a credit card with them?
No, not until after you close.
Yeah, and definitely not unless you talk to us about it, which we're
Absolutely.
probably going to
The
say.
answer is no.
No, just don't do it, please. Okay.
Yes.
All right, so set up your utilities.
Mhm.
What about like moving trucks and stuff like that? Like,
Still fine.
okay, so really you're talking about brand new debts.
Yeah, something that we haven't taken into consideration at the time of application.
What if I have a credit card I don't really use and I just need to put a couple $100 on it?
I'm not real concerned about that.
Okay, what if I need to do that same Nebraska Furniture Mart sale with a credit card that's gonna max it out?
That is a problem.
Okay, gray area once again,
Yes.
right? So when in doubt, what should somebody do if they have a question about something that might affect their approval?
Ask us.
Yeah, I feel like we say that once every 2 or 3 videos, but it's like we say it because not enough people do sometimes.
The standard guideline, standard, don't quit your job.
Yeah.
Don't open any credit card debt.
Right,
Don't buy a car.
Right.
Don't start any new lines of credit. Utilities, okay.
hmm
Pretty much the rule.
Yeah.
of thumb.
Yeah.
But always exception.
Okay, lastly, is it okay for me to go on vacation if I'm buying a house?
You need to be present.
Okay,
Unless you have a legal power of attorney.
okay, gotcha.
But you have to be there on your closing day most often.
Okay, all right, there, and once again, that can have a gray area, but let's save that for a
Yeah.
video that we'll probably never record on. So that's all I have for you today, Molly.
Happy Monday.
Have a great week.